Welcome back, everyone. In this lecture, we're going to formally discuss Python comparison operators. And we actually mentioned these at the very end of your previous assessment test. Hopefully they were pretty straightforward, but in case they were a little confusing, now we're going to formally dive into them and show you how you can return back Boolean values using comparisons. Let's open up a Jupyter Notebook and get straight to it. All right, so here I am at a notebook, and before we get started, I want to briefly mention that in the comparison operators notebook that goes along with this lecture, it's underneath the comparison operators section, there's actually a table of comparison operators, same table from the previous assessment test that has the operator, the description, and then an example of it. So let's get started. Basically going to walk through all of them. Should be pretty straightforward. A little quick lecture here. Often you're going to want to check for equality. So to do that, it's just double equal signs. So 2 equals 2. Run that, and that's true. If we check it out on something else, for example, is 2 equal to 1, we get back false. And the reason we have 2 equal signs is because we don't want to use a single equal sign, otherwise Python's going to think you're trying to assign a variable there. And you can use this not just for numbers, but basically any objects. So I can check, is the string hello equal to bye? And if I run that, it says false. And notice when you're comparing strings, capitalization counts. So you can't do something like this. And that returns false because one is lowercase b and one is uppercase b. And you should also be aware that Python is going to consider types. So for example, the string 2 is not going to be equal to the number 2 or the integer 2. For floating points, as long as they hold the same value, they will be true. So 2.0 is going to be the same as 2. So that's equality. For inequality, you can use the exclamation point equal sign. So if you're going to say, is 3 not equal to 3? Well, that's false because 3 is equal to 3. And let's show you an example of where it's going to return true. So is 4 not equal to 5? That returns true. So we have equality, we have non-equality or not equal. We also have greater than. So I can say, is 2 greater than 1? That's true. Is 1 greater than 2? That's false. Then we have less than. So basically the reverse. Is 1 less than 2? That's true. Is 2 less than 5? That's also true. And then we have greater than or equal to and less than or equal to. So I can say, is 2 greater than or equal to the number 2? In this case, it's true because they're equal to each other. And then we can do a similar thing. We can say, is 4 less than or equal to, for example, 1? And that's false. And you can see a bunch of other comparisons right here in this notebook. Pretty straightforward stuff. A lot of times what we're really going to be using is the equality. But coming up next, what we want to discuss is if you want to make more than one comparison at a time. So far, we've just been comparing two numbers or two objects, so 2 and 2, 1 and 0. But often, you're going to want to do multiple comparisons on the same line. And to do that, we're going to use something called logical operators, which will allow us to chain together comparison operators. So we'll discuss that in the very next lecture. I'll see you there.